Hello guys, F.A.D. here and welcome back to my channel. I know it has been a long time since my last upload, but it's that time again. A start of a new year, and you know what that means. Another CD collection update. Yes. Um, First of all, before I get started, since it has been so long since I last uploaded a video, I've not had the opportunity to say this on camera. Thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. I still can't wrap my head around that. You know, all this time that I've had this YouTube channel, especially the last couple of years when I really started focusing on music, 1,000 subscribers was like the little goal I had in the back of my head that was still like kind of realistic, but was still like a big number to me, where I was like, man, like imagine if I got it, that would be so cool. That would really, make me feel just happy about like that would be my main goal. I'm like, whatever happens after that, it doesn't matter. And I reached it, and I'm not saying that I'm now going to retire, although sometimes it seems like I already have, looking at my, upload frequency. But I just want to, it's just, I'm not retiring, but it's just like, I feel happy, and I don't have that over my head, where it's like with every, with every new 100 subscribers, I'm like, oh my God, like, could it actually happen? I don't need to look at it anymore. I'm just happy I got the 1K, and of course, needless to say, that would not be possible without any of you. I have you all to thank for that, so that's how I wanted to start this video. Thank you so much for helping me reach that milestone. And yeah, without any more further ado, I think I'll probably close out the video with some more general, like, small channel update things. But some people might just be tuning into this video to just see the CDs, so I understand that. So I'm just going to get started in a second. As you can see, I'm here, not at my desk, but at my CD shelf thingy. I did this setup again. I did this setup last year, where I, instead of like grabbing groups of CDs to the desk and blah blah blah, like I just recorded here. I thought it was pretty handy, worked out pretty well, so I'm just gonna do it again. Of course, I have my CDs laid out in the alphabetical order of the artists, like the artist names, and then if I have more than one CD from a particular artist, then those are like in chronological order. And I'm also going to be going through all these albums that I bought last year, because this just to clarify, this is I always do this at the start of January, to kind of just like update you all on all the CDs I bought throughout the previous year. So this is going to be all the CDs that I bought in 2024, and it's quite a lot actually. Yeah, I'm not going to be going through them in chronological order, as in like which ones I bought first, because that's too much hassle. I'll just go in alphabetical order, and as I said, more than one from an artist, and those will be in chronological order. First things first, I will be struggling a little bit at the beginning, because like I have so many CDs at this point where it's like I have every single shelf filled out. So I'm even using the very top shelf, so I really have to stretch out to reach it. But let's just get started. So first of all, before the letters, we have the numbers. So I this year got, like, again, this is a band that it's a post-grunge band from the 2000s that I've listened to for many years, but I decided to buy 2 more of their albums this year, and that's 3 Doors Down. I already owned their first 2 records. I also had their greatest hits CD, but now I also bought their third and fourth album. I got 17 Days, which has Daniel Adair, who's now known as being the drummer of Nickelback's drummer for like 20 years. For the last 20 years, he was actually the drummer on this album for 3 Doors Down. And then I have their self-titled album, which, yeah, I might ramble quite a lot in this video. I mean, if you're familiar with my channel, then you know that already. But that's just kind of my style. These are unscripted videos. But I'll do my best to keep things going. But yeah, I should probably not have a full story for every CD. Next up, we got 12 Stones with Anthem for the Underdog. This is 12 Stones, of course, the band of Paul McCoy, the feature on Evanescence, Bring Me to Life. His band. I already had their first 2 CDs. I quite like their music. They're like those first 2 albums, and I finally got my hands on their third this year. So yeah, underrated band, I think, if you're into like that 2000s post-grunge sound. After that, we got something completely different. As of course, contrary to popular belief, rock and metal. It's not the only stuff I listen to, because I also bought 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying. I mean, just a classic gangster rap record from the 2000s. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that. No, huge debut for 50 Cent. You know, record breaking. Of course, he had that awkward moment with Evanescence at the Grammys, like in 2004, for like Best New Artist when he believed he should have won it, but Evanescence won it, and he got up on stage. Some of you know the story probably, so yeah, just look it up on YouTube. After that, we got a band that I really got into this year. I always kind of like, they were always in the back of my mind, but I really started listening to them this year. I'm probably gonna make that mistake a couple times in this video. Last year, I got into this band last year, and I bought 4 of their albums. It's well, not a modern pop punk band, but they're more modern than bands like Blink-182. But even then, they're like classics. Like at this point, kind of like they're iconic to say the least. The band is All Time Low, and I bought not their first 4 albums because I don't have. In 2005, they had like officially their first album. You know, some people think that this album right here, So Wrong It's Right, is actually their first record. It's not. But yeah, from this album onwards, I got the 4 albums after, including this one and after. So I got So Wrong It's Right, of course with Dear Maria on it. I got Nothing Personal, probably my favorite All Time Low album. I love both of these two. I think Nothing Personal is just like a bit more consistent all the way throughout, but I love both of them. Like definitely had a lot of like, I listened to a lot of pop punk last year, including All Time Low probably was like one of the biggest examples of that. After that we got Dirty Work, which was at the time like it was supposed to be them like, oh, now we're on a major label, it was supposed to like be the next big step, but to this day I think this is still like together with Last Young Renegade, those are like the two black sheeps of their discography. But I've been listening to this album and like of course I listened to it a lot last year, and I actually quite like it. Like I see what the problems are that people have or had or have with it, but like especially like at the time of its release, I can understand that like fans of the band were like kind of, oh no, where is this going? But of course, you know, looking back in retrospect, I think it's a solid album. You know, not my favorite All Time Low CD, but I dig it. And then I also after that have Don't Panic. And this is specifically the extended version. It's longer now, which I bought. I had to get this version specifically because this version has the song A Love Like War featuring Vic Fuentes of Pierce the Veil. I love that song. One of my favorite All Time Low songs. So I had to get the version that had that one. So yeah, it was a little harder to get than the regular, but I have it, even though it's in like this flimsy digipack. I'm still really happy with it. And yeah, those are the 4 All Time Low CDs that I bought last year. Jumping into the metalcore spectrum, which is another one of my main genres, and we got a band Amity Affliction from Down Under with 2 of their albums. We got Chasing Ghosts with this cheerful album cover right here, and probably their most well-known album, and I just need to not blank on the title. It is Let the Ocean Take Me. Like I knew that, but I always have this in these videos, like I'm always like, then what if I say the title wrong, like confidently say the title wrong, you know? So I always have to double check. So Let the Ocean Take Me, actually saw together with my girlfriend, I kind of dragged her along with me. I saw them perform this album in its entirety live for its 10th anniversary last year. So that's kind of like partly how I like what kind of pushed me to get into them. Like a little bit, I had like a little bit of a phase with them. I have not, admittedly, since the concert, not listened to Amity Affliction that much, but these are 2 very solid albums. Moving on to now the second shelf, so I don't have to like reach up as high anymore. Next up we got the band Asking Alexandria, and we got their 3rd album, From Death to Destiny. This is a band that my girlfriend especially really got into last year, and because of that I also kind of really started listening to them. This is their 3rd album where they kind of course they started out like in the like electronic core genre, but this is like really the album where they kind of like really stepped away from that because of, well, lead singer Danny Worsnop's kind of wishes to play a different style of music, and him being very difficult to work with at this time. And yeah, this is a very interesting album, like in that regard. My girlfriend is not a fan of it, but you know, it's a bit more like butt rocky a little bit. It's a bit more just hard rock, but it still has some of those little like metalcore elements. So I really like it personally. That's why I own this CD and not her. She has the first album, Stand Up and Scream. But yeah, I dig this record for what it is for sure. So yeah, I own it. And while we're on the topic of electronic core, well, we got, come on now, who else but the band Attack Attack, and we got their first two records. So the two albums, well, like the two most important Attack Attack records, especially Someday Came Suddenly, an absolute like MySpace classic right here, you know. Their album with Austin Carlisle, you know, the only album that he appeared on from the band before being kicked out, and then he went on to form Of Mice and Men, which another band I really love. But yeah, their first record, iconic, and also their follow up. I say these are like their two main albums because this is when Attack Attack was Attack Attack. They had their third album, which was like really like more just straight up like heavy metalcore. It wasn't as goofy or fun as these two records, especially Someday Came Suddenly. So this is really, when I think of Attack Attack, I think of this era for sure. So yeah, got my hands on these two CDs. Very happy about that. Moving on, we got of course Avril Lavigne has been a big topic. I mean, a frequent topic, I guess, in these CD updates, or I think. Because I, of course, always, whenever she comes up, I'm always like, oh, she used to be, when I was younger, like my big celebrity crush or whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm still a huge fan of her music, and I own quite a few of her CDs. Goodbye Lullaby is one that I finally bought last year. It's always been like a CD that I wanted to get, but never quite got around to it. This is like a bit more of a mellow album, especially after her first three, where she kind of just like, it's a lot of ballads. It's like a bit more mature in that case. Yeah, definitely not my favorite, but it has some great songs and some beautiful songs for sure. And it's not my collection. After that, we got again something quite different. We got the Black Eyed Peas with Elefunk, just iconic record. I think I bought this like because I needed like to add another CD to an order when I was buying something else online. I don't remember what, but hey, it's a classic album. Lest we forget, Papa Roach has a feature on this song Anxiety. Like what? Like, oh my god, the 2000s were awesome. Am I right? Yeah. After that, we got two CDs from the band Bless the Fall. First up, we got their first album. They're only with original singer Craig Mabbitt, who went on to be in Escape the Fate. More on them later. But this is their first record, His Last Walk. This is when they were still really like that Christian, like, that Christian, a bit of a Christian band, where they were in part of the Christian metalcore scene, with Craig on it. I already had some Bless the Fall CDs heading into last year, but I did not have this one. I actually originally didn't really listen to this too much because, you know, different singer, like, I'm more used to Bless the Fall with Bobo Can, but this is actually a really solid album, like, really it is. Maybe a bit of a spoiler alert, I already, like, Escape the Fate, like I said, Craig, I really got into Escape the Fate last year, like, really, and I think that's, like, a big reason why I went back to actually, like, really give this first Bless the Fall album a spin, and, yeah, I really like it. I also, from the Bobo Can era, got Bless the Falls To Those Left Behind, because I was a huge fan of Hollow Bodies, the album before this one, and this is kind of just more of that straight up metalcore. At this point, they were really just like a straight up metalcore band, and I also really like that sound. So really solid album. Not my favorite Bless the Fall record for sure, but still like, still just really good metalcore, and you know I'm a sucker for that. However, moving from heavy metalcore to something not super heavy, we got Blink-182 with One More Time. They're big, you know, I mean, big recent return of Tom DeLonge, you know, after being out of the band for like another decade, you know, and basically, you know, this album has had, you know, some mixed opinions here and there, but I'm definitely a fan of it. The production is rough around the edges to say the least, but like for me, it's just so awesome that we have the iconic lineup, you know, the trio. Like when you think of Blink-182, this is the lineup you think of. You know, you think of Mark, Travis, and Tom. You know, wrong order. And the fact that they're back together and they're doing just fun pop punk again. Because of course, last time they did an album together was, you know, Neighborhoods, which was like not really like a super fun album. It was more mature, and people have like, you know, gone on in retrospect to look back on it in retrospect, and they praise it a lot. But I'm so happy that the guys are just doing stupid fun stuff, making dick jokes. Like that's what I'm not a fan of, just this basic like physical cover art. Like I much prefer just like the digital where they have like the free pictures of them. But yeah, One More Time. And staying within the pop punk realm, we have another band that I've been a fan of. I've listened to for a number of years now, but it was only last year that I finally got around to buying some of their CDs, and I bought 3. So the band is Bowling for Soup. Yes, one of the most ridiculous pop punk bands of their era. And I bought their, like, I think their 3 biggest albums. Maybe, I don't know if that's fair to say. But I got Drunk Enough to Dance, which of course had Girl All the Bad Guys Want, among other bangers. I think one of the other big songs was Punk Rock 101. Then probably their biggest record, which is A Hangover You Don't Deserve, which of course has 1985. Which of course actually wasn't an original Bowling for Soup song. SR 71, if you know, you know. Almost, like, this is a classic, but mostly because of 1985. And then I also have the Great Burrito Extortion Case, which has High School Never Ends. Another huge song of theirs, but yeah. Super fun pop punk. Again, I've been listening to Bowling for Soup here and there for like many years now, but like last year was finally the time where I'm like, yo, I just want to buy some of their CDs, and I did. So yeah, 3 Bowling for Soup CDs now in my collection. And again, moving from that super fun, cheerful stuff, we're going to something completely different. A band that definitely, I didn't get into them last year, but I had a huge phase with them, and I bought a lot more of their albums, and that's Bring Me the Horizon. Previously, I owned only that Sempiternal and That's the Spirit, but, well, let's just say that I kind of have, like, all of their albums now. So let's just kind of get into it. First of all, we of course got their deathcore debut, Count Your Blessings. Oh, actually, holy! I just noticed I'm wearing a Bring Me the Horizon t-shirt. So yeah, is it clear that I really, I bought this t-shirt last year. I really got into the band. Let's just say that. But yeah, Count Your Blessings, super hardcore. Hardcore. Their deathcore debut. Then we got the second album, Suicide Season, and this is the like special, like deluxe edition re-release, the Suicide Season cut up, which I was really happy with this because I bought this for like a really good deal, like new condition, sealed. And I also prefer the, like, this might be a hot take, but I kind of low-key prefer the art like this with like the green guts instead of just the regular, and then the green letters, like it's just it just pops out more in my opinion. So I'm really happy to have this version, even though I don't care for all the remix bonus tracks and the bonus disc. But yeah, really like this album, like really became one of my favorites, especially from their early discography. After that we have There Is a, actually, can I don't think I can do it from memory. There Is a Hell. Actually no, There Is a Hell. Believe me, I've seen it. There's a Heaven. Let's keep it a secret. Boom. I'm sure that's it. I didn't have to. I also bought Amo, which for what it is, a pop record, I really think is not all that bad. That's my take on it. And then of course we get to the Post-Human collection with, first up I got the Japanese edition of Survival Horror, Post-Human Survival Horror. I was dead set on getting the Japanese version because here in Europe, and I think also in America, I'm pretty sure, like this album came out in like a cardboard sleeve, and like not a jewel case. And I was like, I can't have that. So meanwhile in Japan, this actually got like a proper jewel case release, so I had to get it, and I'm so happy with it. Like, it just looks like this makes sense. This just makes sense. But yeah, Post-Human Survival Horror, great release. So many great songs on it, like Dear Diary, Parasite Eve, Teardrops, Obey, Kingslayer, Ludens, like, man, awesome. And then of course to follow that up, we have Bring Me's most recent album that came out last year, and that's Post-Human Next Gen. And this is actually, I also originally bought this album in the standard edition, which also came in a digipack, but I also ordered the version that you're seeing here right now, which is the deluxe, which has like an extra big booklet, which is kind of like a game manual basically, with like a lot more like stuff about the whole post-human lore, like instructions, like it's a real video game, and it was just so fun to read through. And again, this version actually comes in not a normal jewel case, but a super jewel case, so I'm also really happy about that it's not a digipack. I'm not a fan of digipacks myself. I much prefer jewel case releases, so I'm really happy to have this version. And yeah, those were all my Bring Me CDs that I bought last year. Yeah, definitely developed into like one of my favorite bands for sure. Like I already was a fan, but yeah, now I just kind of love like the whole discography for sure. Uh, Moving on then to again something different. Moving back into like some of the music that I like before I got into like heavier stuff, like some good old fashioned 2000s dad rock. This is a band that I already had their first two CDs. Uh, and I kind of recently, actually at the end of last year, bought the rest of the discography because they recently came out with a new EP, which really like solidified. Like they already like kind of were changing styles a little bit, but now they have really solidified the fact that they have completely reinvented themselves. Them and especially their lead singer, who's the band's namesake, Chris Daughtry. Yes, Daughtry. I am definitely a Daughtry fan. I already had the, like I said, first two records. They're two like 2000 post grunge like classics is maybe a big word, but I'll just use that for now. And yeah, their last EP came out, Shock to the System, which we'll get to in a second. Man, I was so impressed by like already their last album, Dearly Beloved, was like a return to like rock music after being kind of stuck in the pop realm during the 2010s. But this last EP, like, it leaves me really curious to see what's next, especially because it's a part one. But yeah, let's just get into the. So yeah, that came out and I was really hooked, and I just went and like bought all the Daughtry CDs that I didn't already have. So first of all, we have Break the Spell, which still kind of had the similar like the style of their first two records, still like really early Daughtry. Then we got 2013's Baptized, specifically the deluxe edition, which was when they went full on pop. But I still dig this record for what it is. It has some really fun songs. Definitely not my favorite Daughtry record, but like I would be lying if I said that I don't that I don't really vibe with some of the tunes on this. Uh, After that, we got Cage to Rattle, which I remember when it released at the time, because of course I was like, can Daughtry not do pop anymore? And you know, credit where credit's due, it's not as poppy as Baptized, but it's still really much a pop rock record. And I remember at the time when it released, I was super disappointed. But now going back into it with like being a lot more fair, I think it's pretty alright. And then, like I said, after that we have Dearly Beloved, which was like their big return, you know, Daughtry's big return to actually making like more like just rock music. They returned to the mainstream rock charts. Unfortunate thing about the CD though is this was like by far the hardest Daughtry CD for me to get. It was the most expensive. You know, I had to really like find a deal, and like it was kind of hard to get just within Europe at one point. I don't know why. And then I finally got it, and the CD doesn't work. Like it was new, it was sealed, and it just doesn't seem to work on my CD player. Like it plays, but it skips like crazy every single track, and I don't know what the reason is. I saw on Amazon on the reviews that some other people like have had the same issues, like just you know for no reason. Which you know I'm happy to know I'm not the only one, but like we're still like very much the minority, and it's just weird because I don't know why. Like I was originally thinking of maybe reordering it still, but now I don't know if it's gonna help at all. I've only ever had this problem with one other CD, and that was Papa Roach's last album, Ego Trip. That one also for some reason just doesn't want to work properly on my CD player. It just skips, like as if it's like fully scratched up, even though it isn't. But nevertheless, I'm still happy to have it in my collection. Dearly Beloved, and of course, already talked about it enough. We got the new EP, Shock to the System, Part 1. So yeah, only the first part, you know, oh my god, Artificial. When I first heard that song, I remember I was like, damn, this is Daughtry? Crazy, man. So yeah, very excited to see what's to come in the future for the band. Yeah, you know, Chris Daughtry of American Idol fame, now doing all this, and he also has these blackout tattoos now, and like what the hell is going on, man? But yeah, crazy times we live in, crazy times. But anyway, that was a big tangent. I am not succeeding in making this a shorter video, so let's just continue. After that, we have Christian rock band Disciple with their self-titled album. I'm pretty sure this was like their major label debut, their first album with like a bigger label. Don't quote me on that, I might be wrong, but I think so. Self-titled. I had some other Disciple CDs, but this is another one of their albums I quite enjoyed. Like The Wait Is Over is probably one of my favorite Disciple songs, and I don't know. I like a lot of Christian rock bands. I think people who have seen my videos before will know that. And yeah, I mean, Disciple is just another one of those like lesser known Christian rock bands I really vibe with, you know. But yeah. Disciple self-titled. After that, we again have something completely different genre-wise. We're going back to hip-hop, rap. because last year, if you saw my video that I did then, my last update, I had bought a lot of Eminem CDs because I've been a big Eminem fan for many years, since I was like a kid, like a little kid, you know. Um, like yeah, and I bought like a lot of, anyway, I bought a lot of his CDs, but not all. And this year again, I said it, last year, of course, he released finally his newest album, and I was super hyped. I loved the album, and so not only do I have that, I have The Death of Slim Shady, but I also decided to buy Music to Be Murdered By, since that was the one album that I didn't own already. And this is actually specifically the deluxe edition, side B, which has, you know, like basically a whole second album's worth of music added onto it in the second CD. And this used to be like one of my, like, it's still like one of my less favorite Eminem records, but I have definitely grown and learned to appreciate this a lot more this past year. So yeah, Music to Be Murdered By Side B, and Death of Slim Shady. And oh my god, such a great album. I am definitely part of the crowd that thinks this was one of the best albums to come out last year. Like, man, I was so happy, just like old school Eminem vibes. Oh my god, my mind was blown. And I was eagerly waiting for the physical release, because it was like months after the album dropped on Spotify. And yeah, so happy to have it in my collection. After that, I already talked about it. I got into Escape the Fate last year, like a lot. And well, so we have quite a few Escape the Fate CDs, not all, but starting with their EP, There's No Sympathy for the Dead. This was still with Ronnie Radke at the helm. You know, before they dropped like their actual debut album. The reason I have this is because a seller who was selling some of these other Escape the Fate CDs here was also selling this, and I was like, hey, it's cool to have. I think it has like this little cool sticker, which is like hyping up Escape the Fate as they have electrifying melodies, shattering screams, raw emotional force, and it's for fans of bands like Under Oath, Senses Fail, Taking Back Sunday, The Used. Like, it's just like I just a cool CD to own, I believe. So it's the There's No Sympathy for the Dead EP. After that, of course, I also have Dying Is Your Latest Fashion, their only album with Ronnie Radke, of course, before all the drama for the arrest, before you know, Craig's arrival, everything. Yeah, I mean, this is just a classic album. This is an emo classic. What more can I say? I love Situations. Who doesn't? Not Good Enough for Truth and Cliche, but like, this is like, oh my god, like, this is so many great songs on it. It's is instrumentals on this, Ronnie's vocals. I always was a fan of Ronnie's vocals. You know, I know that it's not for everybody, but man, this is a great post-hardcore album right here. But after that, I also have some albums from the Craig era. I have 2008's This War Is Ours, which honestly might probably be, even despite how much I like Dying Is Your Latest Fashion, this might be my favorite Escape the Fate album. I just think it's so solid, start to finish. Like Craig, you know, and the guys really blew it out of the park. You know, when some people maybe at the time thought that the band was dead without Ronnie, this was such a good album, man. I love it. Then we have Self-Titled with Ungrateful, and this is also like the deluxe edition. It's as you can see, it has the red cover. So Ungrateful, also a great album, by the way. And the last one I own is also Hate Me, which not one of their most liked albums, but I actually am quite a fan of it. And I actually, this is just this, I really can't speak today. It's just been too long. Like, my local CD store was selling this one, so I was like, hey, I own like all the albums up until this point, so let me also get Hate Me. And yeah, I'm actually a fan of the record. So yeah, those are my Escape the Fate albums. However, of course, we're talking about Ronnie Radke. His band, I'm also quite a big fan of, and you know, Falling in Reverse, they had quite the year last year, 2024. You know, releasing Popular Monster, you know, their first album in so many years, reaching newfound levels of success that I've never had before. Ronnie being all over the news, and then also you know, sold out arenas and an absolute disaster of a European tour. If I say so myself, I was one of the victims of it, aka he was supposed to come to my city and then he cancelled. Yeah, let's just not talk about that trauma right now. It's not that deep, but whatever. But Falling in Reverse, I had their first two albums already, and I kind of filled when I found out, you know, when I heard that they were releasing finally a new album record last year, I was like, okay, I have to just complete their discography. I was so hyped. about everything, just the new album, the tour, which again, like I really still hope that I'll be able to see Falling in Reverse live at some point. But it just wasn't to be last year, I guess. But well, we were not the only ones that got screwed. Let's just say that. But yeah, I have the third album, Just Like You. So like I said, I already had the first two, but Just Like You, really good album actually. I never had really listened to too much of like, just apart from like the big single Just Like You. Never really listened to this album before too much, but this is like really, this was like a big return to just straight up post-hardcore. Yeah, really fun album. Then we have Coming Home 2017. Probably my least favorite Falling in Reverse album. The record that caused Ronnie to be like, hey, I'm done with releasing albums for a while. But still solid enough for what it is. Just a weird spacey vibe. But definitely least memorable. And then of course we got Popular Monster, which even though it's like it's for a large part made up of just like a lot of the singles that he's been releasing. I can't complain because I love those singles, and I also definitely dig quite a few of the new songs that he added to the album. Although definitely like my favorites are definitely the ones that like the songs that we've been listening to for years, like the title track. I love Voices in My Head. I think Watch the World Burn is great. Zombified, yeah. Again, yeah, just really a shame that me and my girlfriend weren't able to see them live last year. But hey, it is what it is. Falling in Reverse. I should not say too much because, Ronnie may find this video and then, yeah, enough of that. Something, again, different, like a different language, actually. We have a Polish band, and this is a band that I've always wanted to buy, like, at least one of their CDs, because this is a band from my childhood. When I was a kid, before I even really knew before I really was, like, actively listening to music, when I was just, like, a kid in the back of my parents' car, listening to whatever was on the radio, living in Poland, this band was like actually became like a favorite. I was always like, oh yeah, I like this band, and that was the band Feel. And people might not know them, but because they're Polish, but they were huge in Poland, like in the late 2000s and the early 2010s, and they're still like a name. Like they're not they definitely are not like the biggest artists in the country anymore, but. This their first album, self-titled, Feel, has so many hits on it, and then also the second album, Feel 2. Just both these albums just kind of take me back to a different place and are just fun to revisit every once in a while. So yeah, I thought they had like it's a band that had a large part in shaping like kind of my music taste and what it is today from like a very young age. So it's like they deserve to be in my CD collection. Moving to the next shelf, we got moving finally into like proper like new metal territory. We got Il Niño with their first album, Revolution. Yeah, Revolution. I already had their second. I love new metal. Let's just move on. Let's just leave it at that and move on. After that, we got some lesser known albums for sure from lesser known artists. We got It's Alive with the album Human Resources. This is an album that I like years ago just kind of randomly like came across on Spotify, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I really wanted to get my hands on this album for quite some time, and I finally was able to find a good deal for it, and now it's in my collection. Really underrated. I recommend you guys check them out. Human Resources. And then we also have Jamie's Elsewhere with they said there's a storm was coming. I believe it's their second album. They said the storm was coming. This is when Aaron Pauli, before he of course came back and like revived the band again. This was the album that he was singing on. Of course, Aaron Pauli is now the frontman of Mice and Men, who I mentioned previously are a band I'm a big fan of. And that's probably one of the main things that pulled me towards this record. And it's like a little electronic core for sure, metalcore, like a really underrated album. Nothing groundbreaking, but just very solid for what it is. And after that, we got a band that at like the start, like very early last year, early 2024, I really finally got into and like had a phase with, because this is a band that I've wanted to get into for years, but for the longest time I simply couldn't. I've many times gone on record saying that I'm a nu metal junkie, and that's true. I love nu metal, yet for some reason I could just never get into the band that started it all, Korn. I tried. I had their like little classic album series collection thingy, but I just never just like really get into them properly. And then finally last year, I just like it just kind of clicked, and it finally happened. And now I have like quite a few Korn CDs on my shelf. Um, Definitely still not like by any means like my favorite band or anything, but you know, even within nu metal. But I always respected the hell out of Korn, and now I actually can also say that I am really a fan of their music because I, you know, have bought a lot of their albums, you know. So let's just go through them because this is quite a big pile. We got Korn, self-titled, you know, the Godfathers of nu metal, with the album that started nu metal, man. Like, oh my god, like imagine my existence if this never came out. Like, I don't even want to think about that actually. Second album, Life is Peachy. After that, we of course got Follow the Leader, probably their most iconic release. I mean, it's a toss up between that or self-titled. Actually, I don't know. Put in the comments below what you guys think. After that, we got Issues, of course, with the fan album cover. Speaking of album covers, this ugly ass album cover for Untouchables. Wasn't it like one of the most expensive albums ever made? I know that money, of course, I know it went to the production, but I know that money did not go to the cover art. We got Take a Look in the Mirror. Then we got See You on the Other Side. I just had to make sure I had the title correct. Love the art, by the way. And I also have the Untitled album. Even though I'm not really too much of a fan of this, it's cool. Like, it's vibey, it's weird, but the only reason I have this is because I bought a lot of these CDs from like one seller that was just selling a bunch of Korn albums, and this was one of them. So I also own Untitled. So yeah, Korn finally like properly in my collection. Okay, I have changed the setup. As you can see, I'm now sitting down because we're getting to like the low shelves here. So I thought, hey, might as well already do that. But yeah, we had just left off on Korn, I believe. So continuing on from that, we have another band that I really got into last year, like somewhere towards the end of last year, like around the autumn months, and that was the band Motionless in White. Yes, and I got all of their CDs. So first we have their horror-y, vibey, super cool metalcore, their most metalcore album, metalcore debut, Creatures, classic metalcore record. Before moving on to the deluxe edition of Infamous, their second album, which is like probably the most, I think their most polarizing record, because some people will say it's their worst by far. They of course were experimenting a lot. They immediately were like, okay, we're not just a metalcore band, we're doing a bunch. They had like a lot of Marilyn Manson and industrial just influences on this. And I think it's a solid album, but I think for me definitely also would place this at like if I did a ranking, at the bottom. But I still really enjoy it. This is also the deluxe edition, which apart from having some bonus tracks, also is just like completely like re-recorded drums and everything, like remixed. Like it actually sounds completely different from the regular edition. Yeah, so those are the first two albums that I own. Before then, we're having the rest of their discography. With first, we also have 2014's Reincarnate. And then we, of course, have the Roadrunner era when they signed to Roadrunner Records. From then on, we have Graveyard Shift with this wonderful art. Disguise, which I might be like I probably am like a really, this is like a really poser thing to say probably, but I don't care. It's probably my favorite Motionless in White album. It's so nu metal, and yeah, like it just has, I really enjoy this. This is like my favorite album, even though I know that a lot of like real like big Motionless in White fans say it's one of their weakest. What can I say, man? I'm a fan. I love this, guys. And of course, also have a deluxe edition of Scoring the End of the World. Also a really cool album. And yeah, Motionless in White are supposed to be releasing new music this year, so I'm very excited for that as well, for sure. You know, Motionless in White of Rhea Ripley fame. If you know, you know. But yeah, that was Motionless in White. Moving on to the next shelf, we got two Paramore CDs. I already before had All We Know Is Fallen, which was for a while like the only Paramore album that I was really, really familiar with, which is pretty crazy, right? Because it's not their biggest album whatsoever. And it's kind of when they were like, when Haley like was really, really young. And before they like really refined like their sound. And I never understood that. Like people saying like, oh, what do you mean? Like the sound, like it's a good album, but like now that I've actually like listened to some more of their stuff, I'm like, okay, I understand why that first album, some people are like, okay, the band just wasn't yet quite there. Because I have Riot, which is a great album, and also Brand New Eyes, which, I don't know, man, like there are days when I definitely prefer this over Riot. You know, I think more often than not, I think this is my favorite Paramore CD, but both of these are great albums, and yeah, now I own their their trilogy of their first 3 albums. So yeah, Paramore. After that, we got, going back to the Christian rock landscape, we got this fucking slipcase, this thin, like, frustrating, but it's Red's latest album, Rated R, which I finally got my hands on, for the most part because me and my girlfriend actually saw them live for the second time last year, and I was like, okay, if we're seeing them live again for this album cycle, then I gotta get my hands on the CD. First, I was planning on buying the CD at the show, but they actually weren't selling the CD at the show, so that was a little embarrassing. So I ended up just getting my hands on this copy, and then I was very disappointed to find out it did not come as a jewel case, but as not even a digipack. Like, this is just a cardboard slipcase with no booklet. Like, and I know that jewel cases of this exist, so I was kind of disappointed about that. But at the same time, it's not too deep because I own the album, and it's definitely not my favorite Red album. It's not bad, but especially since their last album, Declaration, I was a really big fan of. This is just kind of like, wow, it's all right. It's just kind of like Red doing their thing, but not really extraordinarily, in my opinion. But I'm a big Red fan. Again, saw them for the second time live last year. So yeah, Rated R. You know, a Red album is gonna be weird if the album cover is not even red, you know, like, although I do like Release the Panic. Anyway, moving on, we have the next shelf. Here we got Silverstein with this, Discovering the Waterfront, classic emo album. Of course, this album art is not necessarily super classic, so you think like, what the hell is this, right? But then, oh my god, super tight. But then you see this, and this is of course the art that everyone knows. I already had one Silverstein album in my collection. I had oh my god, I always forget the album title for some reason. I always blank on it. I had A Shipwreck in the Sand already, which I really love that record, but this is like a classic, you know. And it had to be in my collection. Let's just say the least. Let's just say that. After that, we have another album that came out last year, and that's Skillet Revolution. Yeah, man. I don't know, man. Like, I bought this album again because it seems like, again, like, you know, like this is the second album in a row where I'm like, okay, maybe Skillet is actually gonna, you know, switch things up this time. You know, I had that for Dominion, and then Dominion ended up really being just like another Skillet album, and now I was like, okay, they're not on they're not on like the big label anymore. They're like doing their own thing. I'm like, yo, this is maybe the moment where Skillet is really gonna switch it up, you know. First single came out, I remember, while I was like on summer vacation with like a group of friends. It was Unpopular, which was a bit of a cringe, but like, it's so cringe, but it's kind of cute song. But yeah, long story short, the album is quite disappointing. Again, maybe I just had my hopes too high, like the fact that I still expected Skillet to somehow like switch it up at this point. But yeah, like this is, I think, even a step down from Dominion, which I already thought was like a step down from an album like from the previous work. Although I guess it was actually a similar level of Victorious, but definitely a step down from Unleashed. Yeah, I'm still a Skillet fan. I've seen them live twice, but I definitely could have skipped this album. Would not have been the end of the world, and it also ruins the perfect streak because all the other Skillet CDs are jewel cases, and this is a digipack. But not a bad album. Again, not a bad album, but it's just another Skillet album basically at the end of the day. And you know, maybe I was in the wrong for that, but I was expecting maybe something a little different. Yeah. Moving on, we have a band that I also, again, really got into last year. And I actually had to kind of like, you know, it wasn't super easy to track down just like reasonably priced copies of all these records, because I got 4 CDs from this band, and Sleeping with Sirens. Yes, the band fronted by the wonderful female voice of Kellen Quinn. But yeah, Sleeping with Sirens really got into them last year, and I became a pretty big fan. But their first album, classic. We got with ears to see and eyes to hear. I had to read it because I can get confused with that title sometimes. Then of course we have the main, the biggest album. You know, let's cheers to this. You know, if you can't hang, do it now, remember it later. Funny enough, this is the like misprint version, which has like the track list in like a completely wrong order. I don't know if this was like the original like intended track list that they like changed last minute or something, but it's weird. I should try listening to this album in this order. I wonder if it makes sense or not. But yeah, let's cheers to this. Love that hell of this album. Probably my most listened album last year, like if I'm being honest. And then we have their third album, Feel, which has among other things an MGK feature, but yeah, it's a solid enough record. And Madness, which has Kick Me, and of course Better Off Dead, another one of their biggest songs. Yeah, so the first 4 Sleeping with Sirens albums, became a big fan last year. Yep, we are nearing the end now. I'm pretty sure that unless I've missed something, we have 2 CDs left, and one of them is not even on these shelves, but we'll get to that in a second. Next up we got Sum 41's Heaven and Hell, their newest album, double album. It's a double album, of course. Heaven and Hell, with 2 CDs. Look at that, Heaven and Hell. Yeah, Sum 41, definitely one of my favorite pop punk bands ever. Even though they're like, out of all the pop punk bands I really love, they're like the least pop punk. And this album represents that, because they've also had a lot of like heavier influences. Like, of course, All Killer No Filler definitely is a pop punk album, but after that, like, they kind of kept like experimenting more and more. Underclass Hero, they went back to pop punk again. But on this album, they just were like, okay, since this is the final, of course, the final Sum 41 album, like, I remember when they announced that they were going to call it quits after one final album and tour, I was like, really? That's crazy, man. Like, I saw Sum 41 live for the first time in 2022. It was a really cool show. I remember it was like one of the first shows that I had, like, that I went to after the whole COVID thing. It was like either the first or the second. It was great vibe. I remember Simple Plan opened for them, and I love Simple Plan. Hate me all you want, but Simple Plan is probably my favorite pop punk band. But I love that. And then now they're calling it quits. So I was like, okay, I have to get their final album, because Heaven and Hell, it's like, Heaven is like their pop punk disc, and this is like more of their metal disc. And it's not their best work. Like, I think everyone can kind of agree on that, but it's solid. It's like a nice 7 out of 10 album. And I also got to see them live one final time on their goodbye tour. Unfortunately, my concert experience wasn't ideal. Like, I remember on the day I was just very tired, so I made the stupid mistake of being like, you know what, I'm gonna skip the opener and I'm just gonna go only for Sum 41. But by that point, like, the venue, it was like a huge venue, where if you were not already there, like, you were not getting like anywhere near, not necessarily the front, because I didn't care about being in the front, but like, I couldn't even see the pit. I don't know. I was expecting a night of moshing, and I just instead had a night of being way out in the back. But I'm still happy that I got to see Sum 41 on their final ever tour. The last time I could ever see them, unless they one day decide to do like a reunion thing. But yeah, Sum 41, Heaven and Hell. And then the final CD that I bought last year is not here, because I've already filled out all these shelves, so I have actually had to like expand my setup here, and I already have some CDs like there behind where you guys are, so I'm gonna just go get that. There we go. We have Under Oath's Define the Great Line. Classic post-hardcore metalcore record. I had of course the one before this already, and this is just an album that, like, I've seen the people like, this is such like an influential album of the era, and I just see people gushing over it all the time, and so I was like, I gotta buy it, I gotta have it in my collection. Haven't necessarily listened to it too much, then definitely nowhere near as much as its predecessor, but definitely happy to have it in my collection, and I got a really good deal for it. So yeah, Under Oath right there, and that's it. Those are all the CDs that I bought last year. Now I'm gonna do one final check, because I would hate it if I ended this video and I didn't show you all the CDs by accident. So let me do that. Yeah, no, that really was it, guys. That really was it. So yeah, if you got through all that, then thank you. Again, like, these are always such rambly videos. Like, I'm always like, even whenever I upload these, even I'm like, damn, am I really gonna upload this? Like, ugh, But yeah, if you actually care enough about to hear my ramblings and to know like are interested in the CDs I bought and like the stories I have to tell about, you know, what music I got into, whatever the hell, I appreciate it a lot. Again, thanks again. Like I said at the start of the video, thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. Like, that is crazy to me. I'm so sorry that I have not been able to upload more. It's just, you know, it's been very hard to just kind of like make the time, and whenever I've had the time, I've struggled with motivation, but also not only motivation, but also just a bit of writer's block. Like, I have like a script laying around that's not finished by all means, but it's like it's quite big already, you know. But I've just not been able to really make much progress on it because there's either been no time, or when there's been time, I just hit a bit of a wall when it comes to creativity. But I'm definitely hoping to get like at some point this year get like another big like band history like edited video out for you guys. I think I owe it to you for sure, for all the support I get. I'm still reading all the comments I get on videos. I'm you know, still checking those out, reading them. Even if I don't respond to them all, I try to always give it a like or everything, because I really do care and I appreciate the support. Yeah, it means more to me like I could ever bring to words, because it's just so crazy to me that like I just talk about music or whatever that I'm interested in, and that there's like a bit of an audience for that on the internet. Yeah, again, just super thankful for that. And yeah, so yeah, sorry that I've not been able to upload more. But here I am, CD update, always every year. I gotta get this one out. And every year I tell myself, oh no, there's next year, maybe I'm not gonna buy as many CDs. But I'm not even gonna try to say that this time. But we'll see. No matter what happens this next year in terms of my upload schedule, you know damn well I'll be back here next January talking to you about the new CDs I bought. So yeah, that was it. Apologies for wearing the beanie indoors. My hair is greasy as hell. I gotta take a shower, bro. But yeah, that's it. Again, just thank you guys for 1K subs, and you know, hopefully I'll see you guys in another video as soon as possible. And just please bear with me, because I know it can be quite frustrating, you know, waiting for new videos on the F.A.D. Entertainment channel. But thank you guys for watching. My name is F.A.D. and I'm gonna see you guys in my next video, whenever that may be. Bye.